I read you from the epilogue. I returned there later. Excuse me for a second. I made a film which is called My Best Fiend, which deals with my collaboration with Klaus Kinski. 20 years later, I returned to Camisea on the trail of my collaboration with Kinski. I had taken a boat through the Pongo de Mainike and stopped over in Chivancorini. There I found two of the Machigengas who had offered to kill Kinski for me. They were dead serious. They would have needed a nod from me and they would have done it. The village has hardly changed at all. The same huts, the same landing. Only the soccer goals have been dismantled because many of the young people have left. One hut is new, roofed with corrugated tin. It is a medical station. The pharmacy, remarkably well stocked. The oil company put it up, otherwise the territory of the Machigengas between the two rivers, to which they now have legal title, remains untouched. Directly on the other side of the Camisea, the oil company has a large installation hidden away in the hills of the primeval forest. One of the world's largest deposits of natural gas, if not the largest, was discovered there. The Amehuacas, I was assured, had been contacted long since and had been tamed into good Peruvians. Amehuacas was a tribal group. Only the name was known in a little bit of their language because they had refused all contact with our civilization, and being nomadic people, they could never be located. And whoever moved in military or missionaries were killed, were shot at night. And in one incident, when the river almost dried out further up, about 10-day trips further up, the Amehuacas came migrating downriver, probably in search of turtle eggs, and they attacked 3 of our native people who were fishing for us on a sandbank at night and almost killed 2 of them with gigantic arrows, had shot a man through the throat, and one arrow had hit his shin bone. And a young woman was there. She thought that her husband was attacked by a leopard because he made this gurgling sound, and she spun around and grabbed a branch of still glowing embers, and at that moment when she spun, she was hit by 2 gigantic arrows. One was, all of them in the pelvic area. One was broke at the inner side of her pelvis, and the other one went through her body above the kidneys, and one was deflected from the hip bone. And we operated them, and there's only, at that time, hardly anything was known of them, but a few years prior to our arrival, a young 7 or 8-year-old boy came down floating on a raft, and he was critically ill, so apparently the Amehuacas put him on a raft and sent him down river, and he recovered, and because of that boy, some of the language was known of the Amehuacas. Now, in the interim, they were finally contacted and were tamed into good Peruvians. What a sad story that is. And had been tamed into good Peruvians. I found not a trace of either our camps, even after a careful search. Not a nail, not a post, not even a hole where a post had been. The strip we had cleared was completely overgrown, as if we had never been there. Only the forest was a lighter green there, if you knew where we had dragged the ship over the mountain. But the vegetation had grown up to its previous height. It was midday and very still. I looked around because everything was so motionless. I recognized the jungle as something familiar, something I had inside me, and I knew that I loved it, yet against my better judgment. Then words came back that had been circling, swirling inside me through all those years. Hearken, heifer, hoarfrost, denizens of the crag, will-o'-the-wisp, hogwash, uncouth, flotsam fiend. Only now did it seem as though I could escape from the vortex of words. Something struck me, a change that actually was not a change at all. I had simply not noticed it when I was working there. There had been an odd tension hovering over the huts, a brooding hostility. The native families hardly had any contact with each other, as if a feud reigned among them. But I had always overlooked that somehow, or denied it. Only the children had played together. Now, as I made my way past the huts and asked for directions, it was hardly possible to get one family to acknowledge another. The seething hatred was undeniable, as if something like a climate of vengeance prevailed, from hut to hut, from family to family, from clan to clan. I looked around, and there was the jungle, manifesting the same seething hatred, wrathful and steaming, while the river flowed by in majestic indifference and scornful condescension, ignoring everything, the plight of man, the burden of dreams, and the torments of time. That's actually the end of the book.